Hi, my name is Harrison, and I'm in the 6th grade, and this is my project for the technology competition. So first, let's get straight into Imagination Forever. So, my main reason for making this project was to show that if you use your imagination, it has no limit and it can go forever. So I'm showing the project on screen right now because as you can see, everything happening right now is part of the imagination. So if we go back, we see a container. So that's the main imagination that I used, the imagination box. And I made a car come out of it as some sort of part. Then using that, your imagination can turn into a boat, and it can carry some more imagination, which leads it to making a helicopter, and then that can bring even more imagination to like spaceship, for example. So everything requires imagination, and if you do that if you keep doing it, you can do good imagination, and if you mess up, you can just do it again and not mess up, and your imagination is technically endless. So yeah, so as you can see, they all have imagination on them. Then this is another example of imagination, and then the imagination is loaded, and the project ends as how it starts. So that's a way it can loop. So yeah, that is my main reason for the project. So throughout this project, I mainly use Stop Motion Studio, and you can see my project right here. So Stop Motion Studio, how it works overall in general, basically you use the camera button to take pictures, and that's basically it, and then the pictures get turned into an animation. So this, as you can see, is my project right here. Currently has 484 frames with 10 frames per second, which I adjusted on here. Here, as you can see, it's at 10 frames per second. Also, the fade, as you saw in the beginning, I used some fade. So this fade right here is fade in and fade out, which is kind of what you saw there. So then this right here is aspect ratio. I did a normal aspect ratio, and yeah, that right there is foreground, but I did normal one because the project needs to look kind of nice, so I tried to make it good. This is like the filters and stuff, but all the other ones don't look very neat, so I used the normal filter. This is quality, and I use normal HD. This is just uploading it on YouTube. Playback, which is generally just like how fast it is and how you want to rewind and stuff. So yeah, and basically that's what I used to make the project. And how I recorded sounds, as you can hear in this, I added sound effects. Now, how I made those sound effects, to demonstrate, I'll go onto a blank project. And let's say this is my project right now. So basically this is how the camera works. So yeah, you can take pictures like that. So yeah, now it's an animation. And yeah, you can change the frames per second how you want it to. So mine was at 10, but for the example, I'll do it here. So after that, this button records. So as you can see, it says ready to record. So to record it, all I press is record and wait 3 seconds, and then I can record. So say I need to make like a clicking sound as to the dice that I made. I used clicking sound. So I used some Rubik's cubes to do that, because Rubik's cubes are very clicky. But here I can use a mouse. So say I click record. This is how it records. Then I click, which records. So as you can see, that was recorded right there. So that's basically how this works. And now let's get on to the other things I used to make the project. This desk right here was my work area. It's kind of messy right now, but when I was filming, I had to clean up this whole area to film it. And for the most part, I used Rubik's Cubes and Legos as the introduction where the box is coming down. I used some tall Rubik's Cubes stacked on top of each other to imitate the tower. And this one was not created by me. This was created by Lego in an official Lego set. So credit to Lego for this, because I did not create it. Lego did in a set. And yeah, so this was the spaceship in the part where it opened up and dropped out an imagination box. This is the other Lego flying mob that I had. This one was made by me, but Lego produced all the parts here, so I didn't make any of the Lego parts, but I made the model itself. And to make the boat itself, I used this Lego boat that Lego had produced and just put some windshields on it, made from Lego obviously, to make it look like a boat. So yeah, that's what I mainly used. So that was my project for the technology competition. So here are some questions that I'll answer. So I worked alone and by myself, and I created all of it by myself for the most part. And it took me about a month or so to create it, so about a few weeks to create the animation itself, and about another week to get the right sound effects and editing it. What took a few days, and then making the rest of this video took about 2 or 3 days. So overall, a month in total. And the easiest part was probably the animation, because I regularly do animation, so was pretty easy to do the stop motion and everything. So the most challenging part was probably the sound effects, because I didn't have a lot of the professional sound effects, so I had to use what I had in my area, or I wouldn't get the project done in time. Then I learned that this is also from what you could learn from my project, but I learned that if you keep going, then your imagination can go on forever, like a loop, like how I explained about the project itself. So what was most fun for me was probably rewatching the animation and editing it, because it was pretty cool, and I like watching finished projects. So yeah, and also some final thoughts about the project. Obviously, I used a camera stand because the camera didn't need to be too shaky. So I also learned a few new skills, which was editing it, because I hadn't used stop motion I've been using stop motion for a long time, but I haven't edited it in a while because I only use sound effects and I didn't edit that much. But now I learned how to edit it, and also the improvements that I made. The original project was like silent, and it was only like 15 seconds, but I made some more details to get it to almost a minute, so that's the improved part. And that's pretty much it for my project.